Today we're going to be trying to turn an ugly duckling into a swan. Don't go away. The Porsche 910 or Carrera 10 was a race car from Porsche based on the Porsche 906. 29 were produced and raced in 66 and 67. The Matchbox version, number 68, was produced from 1970 to 1986 and could be had in metallic red, white, blue, silver, lime, or orange. This casting was a part of the Superfast series and was a perfect example of how a potentially cool die-cast car could be made to look so lame. This car will not be getting a restoration because as it was made, it was vomit-inducing. My goal today is to try and take this ugly duckling and turn it into Prince Charming. Let's get to it. My Porsche is actually not in terrible shape. A little ratty looking, but not bad. Certainly ugly as hell. I start, of course, by taking the car apart. The metal base is fine. The body is solid. The interior is super clean. And the glass looks savable, which is a good thing because I don't have a replacement. Right off the bat, I'm thinking this should have been a Redline, and I'm actually considering a Spectraflame paint job. I'll get the body stripped of its paint by taking it for a spin through the warm liquid goo phase, and then I can see what the casting looks like before I make a final decision on how I'll paint it. I just love watching these cars sink down into the goo. I left the casting in this stripper overnight, and now I can go ahead and take it out and get a good idea of what the body looks like underneath that ugly paint. Here you can see what a great job the Citrus Strip does if you just let it do its thing. Alright, I'll run the gooey mess to the sink, give it a good wash and a brush with a toothbrush. That'll get rid of the residual Citrus Strip and any last bits of paint. Now that I'm back, I can go ahead and, as usual, give it a quick once-over with a brass bristle brush. Probably doesn't really need it here, but hey, it always kind of homogenizes the body and gives me a great idea of what I have to work with. I have to say that the body is in really good shape and it's going to polish up super nice. It's going to make it a great candidate for Spectraflame paint. I'm going to go ahead and get this thing as shiny and as nice as I can. So I'm going to hit it up with some steel wool, and then I'm going to turn to some Flitz Polish and get this body really, really shiny so that the SpectraFlame will really pop. Flitz is an amazing product that you can polish almost anything with. I polish glass, car bodies, coin rings, you name it, Flitz will polish it. I apply the Flitz all over the body, rub it in nice and thoroughly, and then I'll hit the car up with a polishing wheel on my rotary tool. This thing is gonna shine like a new penny. While this is not a Hot Wheel, since I'm considering SpectraFlame paint, you need to think of it in terms as if it was a Hot Wheel. And when you're painting Hot Wheels, if you shine the body too much, it gives the car a little bit less of an authentic look. Let's face it, Hot Wheels weren't polished up this well before being painted. They were just kind of shiny and the paint was thrown down. If you do a really, really nice polishing job on your casting, the car is going to look great, but it really isn't going to look like an authentic Hot Wheel fresh out of the blister pack. I'm very proud of myself because I totally remembered to drill the posts out prior to putting paint down. The body is in really nice shape, and it's going to take the SpectraFlame very nicely, but I have to tell you that my mind is wandering and it's starting to pull me in a new direction. I started thinking about how this would look with Redline wheels on it. That got me to thinking about my wheel selection, which I hadn't made yet. And that idea of wheel selection in turn made me reconsider my paint job idea. I've decided to go on a full custom build and try and make this car really badass. So I'm throwing out the entire SpectraFlame idea, and I'm going to go with a super gloss black finish, a color I haven't used much. Now that I have a plan, I can really get rolling. I used to use the Allen wrench for my button head screws until I got this little screwdriver from the Redline Shop. I love this thing. It makes putting the screws in the cars so easy. I love it and highly recommend it. In fact, I'm probably going to order a second one in case I ever damage this one. I'll have one sitting there ready to go. So as I said, I've decided to go with a gloss black finish, and I came to that decision because I was thinking about the wheels. So I do have some idea of what I want, and here they are. These gold wheels should look fantastic on this car. I must be having a fantastic day. First of all, I remembered to drill out the posts, and now I'm remembering to pay attention to the glass early on in the build so it'll be ready when I'm ready to put the car back together. Here I am, I'm polishing the glass with a little bit of Flitz. As I said, it does everything and does it well. And then I'm going to wash it with some soap and water and take it through a spin through the gauzy. After it's dip, I'll put it away in my beloved onion saver to dry. Not every technique works every time. This is going to be one of those cases as I turn my attention to getting the base shined up. I've dropped the base into a mix of water and lime away. And sometimes this works amazing and just comes out beautifully shiny right out of the mixture. That's not going to be the case today. Yes, it's going to take away a bunch of the tarnish, but it's going to still leave me with a bunch of work to get it shiny. After a short soak, I'll pull it out and break out my trusty Flitz again and my rotary tool, and I'm going to shine this base up and give it some real pop. I've showed you this before, and I think I'm going to make it a permanent part of my routine. When I don't paint a base, I have begun to start coating it with this Renaissance wax. Renaissance wax is a product used for protecting jewelry and the like in museums. I use it on my coin rings. I'm using it here so that I can keep a natural shiny metallic finish without having to put any paint or sealer on the base. I just simply rub it on and polish it off, and it should protect the base and keep it from corroding. As always, I'll put a link for Renaissance Wax in the comments. The base is looking awesome, if I do say so myself. Now I can put the new wheels on. They fit perfectly. And, best of all, they can make use of the factory suspension board, making this wheel swap very, very easy indeed. And there she is with her new shoes, ready for dancing. Over at the paint booth, I'm going to lay down a nice gloss black finish. I'm going to be using Tamiya X1 gloss black paint. And as usual, I'm going to add a few drops of leveling thinner, and then I'm going to finish it all off with some Tamiya X20. I'm going to lay the paint down very, very carefully because I need a very nice, smooth, glossy finish. This will come into play when I put the decals down, and it will prevent silvering. As is my norm, I'll begin by putting down a very fine mist coat, then I'll follow it up with a couple medium coats, and I'll finish everything off with a couple of wet coats until I get a nice, beautiful finish. I have to be honest, I did kind of make a mistake on the paint job though. I was so hooked up on the idea of putting down Spectraflame that I never really considered putting down a primer.
So, when I changed my mind and decided to put this gloss black finish on, I should have put down some Tamiya Fine primer, but just forgot all about it. In the end, it came out great, so it didn't really matter, but if I were doing it again, I would have primed this car first. The paint is looking awesome, and it is going to take the decals perfectly. To the best of my knowledge, during its racing life, this Porsche was never raced in black. So this really is just kind of a fantasy car. So I'm just putting on numbers that I like and that I have. I made these on my Alps printer. They're not representative of any specific race team. It's just the way I think it will look cool. Once I get all the decals on, I'll set the car aside to dry thoroughly. When that's done, I can go ahead and seal everything up and give the car its final amazing gloss finish by laying down some urethane clear coat from the Redline Shop. I didn't really intend to do anything with the interior at first, but while fooling around I noticed that the white interior really stood out in the wheel wells of the car. With that in mind, I realized I had to paint it, so I might as well give the whole thing a paint job in some black. This black Vallejo paint is going to tie everything together, and it's going to take that bright spot out of the wheel wells. With that little bit of detail painting done, I can now go ahead and put the car back together. I went ahead and popped in the window, then the freshly painted interior, and now I can set the base in place, and I'll button it all up using a single button head screw and this fabulous screwdriver from the Redline Shop. I can now call this one done, and I really feel like it was a home run. Took an ugly, ugly car and turned it into what I feel is a showstopper. I hope you love it as much as I do.
Well, there you have it, the Matchbox Porsche 910. I think it came out amazing, and I hope you do too. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up, click subscribe, and click the bell to be notified of my new releases. I'm going to go ahead and make like a tree and get out of here. I hope you have a great day full of beauty and speed. And until next time, this is Paul from Fat Guy Productions saying, be good.